Welcome back to another spine-chilling episode of our haunted storytelling series, where we journey into the shadowy corners of history and lore. In this fifth installment, we turn our gaze toward the rugged and untamed beauty of the West Coast, a stretch of coastline renowned for its dramatic cliffs, sweeping oceans, and towering lighthouses that have stood sentinel against the relentless fury of the sea. These iconic structures are more than just navigational aids. They are monuments to human perseverance, solitude, and tragedy. And yet, beneath their stoic exteriors lies a darker truth. Many of these lighthouses harbor secrets, so unsettling they defy explanation. For centuries, lighthouses have served as beacons of hope for sailors navigating treacherous waters. But what happens when those who tend to these lonely outposts meet with misfortune? What becomes of the souls who perish within their walls or beneath the waves nearby? Legends abound of ghostly keepers still tending their lights, spectral ships haunting the horizon, and mournful cries carried on the wind from tragedies long past. From Washington's fog-shrouded shores to California's sun-kissed cliffs, the West Coast is home to some of the most haunted lighthouses in America, each steeped in tales of death, despair, and unrelenting spirits. In this episode, we'll explore 5 of the most infamous haunted lighthouses along the Pacific Ocean. We'll delve into their rich histories, uncover the chilling stories behind their hauntings, and hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown. Whether it's the phantom footsteps echoing through empty halls, the cold touch of an unseen hand, or the eerie glow of a light long extinguished, these lighthouses offer encounters that blur the line between reality and nightmare. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of the West Coast lighthouses, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. Cape Disappointment Lighthouse. The ghosts of Oahu perched atop the jagged cliffs of Cape Disappointment State Park in Washington. The Cape Disappointment Lighthouse stands as one of the oldest and most storied lighthouses on the West Coast. Commissioned in 1856, this historic beacon has guided countless mariners through the perilous mouth of the Columbia River, known ominously as the Graveyard of the Pacific. Yet, for all its life-saving purpose, the lighthouse itself is shrouded in tragedy and whispers of the supernatural. One of the most enduring legends tied to Cape Disappointment revolves around the spirit of a former lighthouse keeper named James Anderson. Tasked with maintaining the light during the late 19th century, Anderson was said to have been driven mad by the isolation and ceaseless roar of the ocean. Historical records suggest he vanished without a trace one stormy night, leaving behind only cryptic notes scrawled in the margins of his logbook. Since then, visitors and staff alike report seeing a gaunt figure clad in period attire roaming the grounds, his lantern swinging wildly as though searching for something, or someone, he lost long ago. Others claim to hear faint footsteps ascending the spiral staircase leading to the lantern room, accompanied by the sound of muffled muttering. Another prominent haunting involves the tragic fate of a young woman named Emily Carter, whose story intertwines with the lighthouse's dark legacy. According to local lore, Emily fell deeply in love with a sailor who promised to return after setting sail from the nearby port. When months passed without word, she began visiting the lighthouse nightly, scanning the horizon for his ship. One fateful evening, she spotted a vessel approaching but ran down to the shore in desperation, only to slip and fall to her death on the rocks below. Her ghost is said to linger near the base of the lighthouse, her ethereal form often seen gazing out to sea, her face etched with sorrow. Witnesses describe feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness in her presence, as well as hearing faint sobs carried by the wind. Adding to the lighthouse's eerie reputation are reports of strange phenomena emanating from the surrounding woods. Campers and hikers exploring the area at night frequently recount hearing disembodied voices calling out names unfamiliar to modern ears. Some claim to see shadowy figures darting between trees, while others report encountering sudden patches of dense fog that seem to materialize out of nowhere. Paranormal investigators conducting overnight vigils near the lighthouse have captured compelling evidence, including thermal imaging footage showing anomalies moving across the property and EVP recordings capturing fragmented phrases like, "help me," and "don't leave." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, Cape Disappointment remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its breathtaking views and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely exploration. For those brave enough to venture inside after dark, the promise of encountering James Anderson, Emily Carter, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto the lighthouse grounds, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the lighthouse's macabre legacy? Hasetta Head Lighthouse, the Lady in White nestled along Oregon's rugged coastline, Hasetta Head Lighthouse stands as both a picturesque icon of maritime history and a hotbed of paranormal activity. Built in 1894, this charming structure perched high above the Pacific Ocean boasts not only stunning panoramic views but also a spectral resident known simply as the Lady in White. Her presence has become synonymous with the lighthouse's haunting reputation, captivating visitors and fueling legends that continue to grow with each passing year. The origins of the Lady in White trace back to the early 20th century, when the lighthouse keeper's quarters housed a reclusive woman named Rue. Described as beautiful yet enigmatic, Rue lived alone after the sudden and mysterious disappearance of her husband, a fisherman who never returned from a routine voyage. Locals whispered about foul play, suggesting jealousy or betrayal may have been involved, though no conclusive evidence ever surfaced. Consumed by grief and guilt, Rue spent her remaining years pacing the halls of the keeper's house, staring endlessly out to sea in hopes of spotting her missing spouse. When she died under unclear circumstances, her restless spirit reportedly remained tethered to the lighthouse, unable, or unwilling, to move on. Visitors today frequently encounter signs of Rue's lingering presence. Many report seeing a translucent figure dressed in flowing white garments gliding silently through the rooms of the keeper's quarters. She is often spotted standing near windows overlooking the ocean, her expression frozen in eternal longing. Others describe feeling an inexplicable chill pass through them as she drifts by, accompanied by the faint scent of salt water and roses. Some even claim to hear soft humming or the rustle of fabric, as though Rue is tidying up the house despite its transformation into a bed and breakfast. The Lady in White isn't the only entity rumored to haunt Hasetta Head. Employees and guests staying overnight in the converted keeper's quarters have reported bizarre occurrences that defy logical explanation. Lights flicker unpredictably, especially in hallways leading to older sections of the building. Doors slam shut on their own, and objects are known to move inexplicably. A particularly unnerving incident involved a guest waking up in the middle of the night to find her reflection in the mirror distorted, as if another face were superimposed over hers. Upon closer inspection, she swore she saw Rue's pallid visage staring back before vanishing without a trace. Paranormal investigators exploring Hasetta Head have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. Thermal cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, particularly near the windows and staircases associated with Rue's sightings. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, suggesting heightened energy levels consistent with spectral activity. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices whispering fragmented sentences like, "I'm waiting," and "Come back to me." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Hasetta Head Lighthouse continues to attract curious souls eager to immerse themselves in its storied past. For many, booking a stay in the keeper's quarters offers an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its architectural splendor or the thrill of peeling back the layers of its enigmatic history, Hasetta Head promises an unforgettable experience where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the echoes of yesterday linger just beyond reach. Point Sur Lighthouse, guardians of the fog rising dramatically from a volcanic rock formation jutting into the Pacific Ocean. Point Sur Lighthouse in Big Sur, California, is as isolated as it is breathtaking. First lit in 1889, this remote beacon has long been a critical guidepost for ships navigating the treacherous waters off the central coast. However, its strategic importance belies a darker narrative, one marked by isolation, madness, and spectral guardianship. The lighthouse's forbidding location, accessible only via winding roads and steep trails, makes it a place where the boundary between the natural and supernatural seems perilously thin. One of the most persistent legends tied to Point Sur involves the ghost of a former lighthouse keeper named Thomas Winslow. Historical accounts paint Winslow as a meticulous man whose dedication to his duties bordered on obsession. Over time, however, the crushing solitude and ceaseless howl of the wind took their toll. Local lore claims that Winslow began hearing voices urging him to abandon his post, voices he believed belonged to sailors lost at sea. On a stormy night in 1923, Winslow disappeared without explanation, leaving behind cryptic journal entries detailing his descent into paranoia. Decades later, visitors report seeing a disheveled figure clutching a lantern, pacing anxiously near the lighthouse's base. His presence is often accompanied by the sound of heavy breathing and the metallic clang of tools being dropped. Another haunting centers around the tragic fate of Sarah McCallum, the wife of a subsequent keeper. Pregnant and struggling with the oppressive loneliness of life at Point Sur, Sarah ventured too close to the edge of the cliffs one foggy morning and plummeted to her death. Witnesses claim her spirit now roams the grounds, particularly near the crumbling foundations of the keeper's cottage. Visitors recount seeing a translucent woman in Victorian dress crying softly, her hands pressed protectively over her stomach. Some described feeling an overwhelming sense of dread when approaching certain areas, as though an invisible force is warning them away. The surrounding landscape amplifies the lighthouse's eerie atmosphere. Dense banks of fog roll in unexpectedly, swallowing the structure whole and muffling all sound except for the distant crash of waves. Shadows flit across peripheral vision, disappearing when directly observed. Reports of disembodied laughter and faint piano music emanating from empty rooms add to the unsettling ambience. One particularly chilling account involves a group of hikers who swore they saw a rowboat floating aimlessly offshore, its oars moving as though propelled by unseen hands. When they approached, the boat vanished entirely, leaving ripples in the water as the only evidence of its existence. Paranormal investigators exploring Point Sur have captured compelling evidence of its supernatural activity. Thermal imaging reveals distinct cold spots concentrated near the lantern room and the cliffside path leading to the keeper's quarters. EMF detectors spike erratically, particularly during periods of dense fog. Audio recordings pick up fragmented phrases like "stay away" and "they're coming," delivered in tones ranging from desperate to menacing. Perhaps the most unsettling discovery came when a team member set up motion-activated cameras overnight, capturing footage of a shadowy figure standing motionless at the top of the stairs before vanishing without explanation. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Point Sur Lighthouse remains a magnet for adventurers and history buffs alike. Its stark beauty and rich history make it a favorite destination for photography and exploration. For those brave enough to spend the night, the promise of encountering Thomas Winslow, Sarah McCallum, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor ascends the rocky trail to the lighthouse, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the guardians of the fog, or will they become another chapter in the lighthouse's spectral saga? Pigeon Point Lighthouse, shadows of the past perched majestically on a windswept bluff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Pigeon Point Lighthouse in San Mateo County, California, is a testament to resilience and tragedy. First illuminated in 1872, this iconic beacon has guided mariners safely through the treacherous waters of the California coast for over a century. However, its storied past is intertwined with tales of loss, betrayal, and restless spirits that refuse to fade into oblivion. Beneath its towering silhouette lies a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be uncovered. One of the most haunting legends tied to Pigeon Point revolves around Captain William W. Smith, a decorated naval officer who became the lighthouse's first keeper. Tasked with ensuring the light burned brightly every night, Smith grew increasingly consumed by his responsibilities. Historical records indicate that he rarely left the premises, devoting himself entirely to the task. Over time, whispers of madness began to circulate among neighboring communities. Locals claimed to see Smith wandering the cliffs at odd hours, muttering to himself and gesturing wildly toward the sea. One fateful evening, during a violent storm, Smith vanished without a trace. His body was never found, and the lighthouse logbook contained only a single ominous entry. "It calls to me." To this day, visitors report seeing a figure resembling Smith patrolling the grounds, his lantern swinging erratically as though searching for something, or someone, he lost long ago. Another prominent haunting involves the tragic death of Mary O'Connell, the daughter of a subsequent keeper. Known for her playful nature and love of adventure, Mary frequently explored the rocky shoreline surrounding the lighthouse. One afternoon, while chasing butterflies near the edge of a cliff, she slipped and fell to her death. Her small grave, marked by a weathered wooden cross, can still be found nestled among wildflowers just outside the keeper's quarters. Witnesses claim to see a young girl dressed in antique clothing skipping joyfully along the paths leading to the lighthouse, only to vanish abruptly when approached. Others describe hearing faint giggles carried by the wind, accompanied by the sound of tiny footsteps echoing through empty halls. Adding to the lighthouse's spectral aura are reports of strange phenomena occurring within its walls. Guests participating in overnight stays hosted by preservation groups frequently recount bizarre experiences that defy logical explanation. Lights flicker unpredictably, especially in rooms adjacent to the lantern room. Doors slam shut on their own, and the scent of salt water permeates the air despite the building's distance from the shore. One particularly chilling incident involved a volunteer who swore he felt icy fingers brushing against his neck while climbing the spiral staircase, followed by the unmistakable sound of a child sobbing somewhere above him. Paranormal investigators exploring Pigeon Point have documented numerous instances of unexplained activity. Thermal cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, particularly near the lantern room and Mary's gravesite. EMF detectors register unusual spikes, suggesting heightened energy levels consistent with spectral activity. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from EVP recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented phrases like, "Don't go," and "I'm here." One investigator captured a chilling photograph of a translucent figure standing at the top of the lighthouse, its arms outstretched as if beckoning someone forward. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Pigeon Point Lighthouse remains a beloved landmark, attracting tourists eager to glimpse a piece of California history. Its blend of elegance and eeriness makes it one of the state's most sought-after destinations for those willing to test their courage against the unknown. For those brave enough to book a stay, the promise of encountering Captain Smith, Mary O'Connell, or one of the countless other spirits said to roam its halls adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps across the threshold, they must decide whether they are ready to face the shadows lurking within these walls, or will they become another chapter in the lighthouse's tragic tale? As we traverse the haunted landscapes of the West Coast, from the storm-lashed shores of Cape Disappointment to the mist-shrouded cliffs of Pigeon Point, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing winds of desolate headlands to the shadowed alcoves of ancient stones, these sites share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of isolation. Lighthouses, by their very nature, are designed to stand apart from civilization, serving as solitary sentinels guarding treacherous waters. This physical separation creates an environment ripe for introspection and madness. Keepers tasked with maintaining the lights often faced months of solitude, cut off from society and subjected to the relentless battering of wind and waves. It's no surprise that many hauntings involve individuals driven to despair by the crushing weight of loneliness. Their spirits linger, trapped in a liminal space between duty and deliverance, unable to escape the confines of their self-imposed exile. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture in amplifying paranormal activity. Historic lighthouses, with their narrow staircases, thick stone walls, and hidden alcoves, create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These structural elements act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance, lantern rooms where lives were saved or lost, keepers' quarters where personal tragedies unfolded, or cliffside paths where fatal accidents occurred. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing visitors to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted lighthouses, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each lighthouse's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal conditions endured by early keepers embedded in the DNA of older structures contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted lighthouses transform from mere buildings into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why haunted lighthouses captivate us? What is it about haunted lighthouses that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the creaking floorboards and flickering lights lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These structures, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to guide us, or where justice was denied, leaving wounds that refuse to heal. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. The core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Haunted lighthouses exist in this liminal space, bridging land and sea, safety and danger, life and death. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a haunted site feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, haunted lighthouses contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Narrow spiral staircases lined with identical doors create a sense of disorientation, while poor lighting and echoing acoustics heighten sensory awareness. These features mimic the psychological effects of anxiety and claustrophobia, making even mundane sounds, a distant cough, the hum of fluorescent lights, feel ominous. The labyrinthine layouts of older structures, with their hidden wings and underground tunnels, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with haunted lighthouses. Media representations, from films like The Lighthouse to television series such as Supernatural, have cemented the trope of the haunted beacon as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about institutional power, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Haunted lighthouses become microcosms of larger fears: the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, haunted lighthouses appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of haunted lighthouses attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring allure of haunted lighthouses lies in their ability to mirror our deepest fears while challenging our understanding of reality. They remind us that the past is never truly buried, that pain and injustice leave indelible marks on both people and places. As we walk their haunted halls, we are forced to confront not only the spirits said to inhabit them but also the ghosts within ourselves, the regrets, doubts, and unanswered questions that linger long after the wounds have healed. In doing so, we find a strange comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our fears, that others have walked these same paths and emerged, shaken but alive, to tell their stories. As we bring this chilling journey through the haunted lighthouses of the West Coast to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of the West Coast's haunted lighthouses yourself. Walk the same halls where spirits are said to roam, stand in the rooms where history's echoes reverberate, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken institutions offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted lighthouses, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.